Welcome back to Radio Row right here on talkSPORT, building up to Super Bowl 59, live from New Orleans, in-stadium coverage coming to you on Sunday evening from 10:30 on UK National Radio. Look, we have plenty of big stars, and it's not just the football that we talk about. Pleasure to say, Paige VanZant, Hannah Goldy join me talking all about MMA and, of course, the Global Fight League. How are you guys? You enjoying your week?
Yeah, absolutely great. Not a week. We just flew in today.
Okay, just arrived.
And we fly out tonight. We're here just for media row.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's a pleasure to have you both with us. Look, I wanted to start by talking about the Global Fight League, and why you decided, Paige, you announced in January that this is what you wanted to take part in, starting in 2025. What was it that stood out to you, and why is this such an exciting thing that you want to be a part of?
Well, one, I was itching to get back into MMA. Yep. I felt like it was going to take the right promotion to really excite me again. And here comes GFL. They knocked on the door. They gave me their initial sales pitch, and I was hooked. They're changing the game for MMA fighters. They're really creating basically like an NFL season, but for the fighters and for a fight league. And beyond that, we're being taken care of more like NFL players. We're getting a revenue share. We're getting insurance. It's going to be completely different where it's not just, you know, say we're injured and we can't fight forever. We're still being able to capitalize and have revenue off the company that we're signed with.
So many people signing up, Hannah, so many big names as well. It just goes to say, like Paige says there, that there is such a huge interest in this, and multiple cities across the world that you're going to be taking part in. It's such an exciting moment, isn't it, for the sport as well?
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Like I was saying earlier, I've been out for a year. Paige has been out for 5 years, you know, and like she said, it was going to take something really, you know, new and exciting to get her back in. And same thing for me. I'm just really looking forward to, you know, fighting for the GFL and just this new system that they're implementing. I think it's going to be awesome. Because
you have been keeping busy, Paige, especially in terms of you've been doing a bit of boxing, obviously former in the UFC as well, and you've also been doing power slap. So what is it that, you know, right now that drew you back into this sort of sport in MMA in particular as well?
Truly, it was the organization. Obviously, I've stayed completely active through MMA this entire time, training an American top team in Florida, and it was just the right organization. And, you know, when I left the UFC, I left as a free agent, and I wanted to really be excited about my next move. And here came bare knuckle boxing, and I was like, okay, that's exciting, and I want to do that. And of course, I loved every second of it, but my passion's MMA. And of course, throw a little power slap in there for the entertainment. But really, I'm excited to be back in MMA again, and also a promotion that I'm excited to promote and really speak about.
I have to ask you a little bit about power slap. Just it's a phenomenal concept. Just watching that on TV, goodness me, I don't want to be in that position. But just tell us a bit about being involved in that and what that was like as well.
You know, I initially watched power slap and I was like, that's insane. I will never do that. Then I get a phone call and I'm like, hey, you know, are you interested in power slap? I was like, well, I could be interested. And you know, one thing led to another. I had my first power slap match. I won. I absolutely loved it. It was truly entertainment with just like a little bit of violence. Like for me, it was just enough of violence.
A little bit.
I'm like, I was in the audience for Paige's first power slap fight. It was before her and I became friends, and I'm like, this girl is nuts.
I don't know. There's something about it that is just fun, and it takes away. It makes it able for me to be competitive without a true like over aggression of nerves. Like I get more competition experience being on a big stage and a platform, but going up there and there's no fear of what could happen. Like I know exactly what's going to happen. She's going to slap me, I'm going to slap her, and one of us is going to win. Hopefully the other person's going to get knocked out. But for me, it's just fun. Before
touching on the UFC with you both, as I did wanted to touch on it, you mentioned boxing. You had a fight with Misfits Boxing against Elle Brooke. Is that something you'd like to go back into in the future? Is that something you could see going back into boxing? Is that
Absolutely. Honestly, I just like combat sports. And for me, I am the most passionate about MMA, and especially the GFL. They're changing the game for everybody. And I love to compete. I love combat sports, and I'm going to go, one, where I'm the most valued, and then two, where I just feel like I can really be excited about being a part of the promotion and not just a name.
Hannah, I wanted to ask about the UFC and or maybe the start of your journey in terms of mixed martial arts, and maybe that first moment you spoke to your parents or spoke to family and said, this is what I want to go into. How intense a moment was that, and what was the reaction like as well when you said, this is my future career, this is what I want to do?
You know, I think I didn't even realize it was my career or going to be my future career until I was literally, it was already my career. You know, I started doing cardio kickboxing when I was 20 years old, and I just thought it was super fun. And I took a boxing fight like pretty quickly after that, maybe 2 months. And I just remember in between rounds, like that's when I decided, I was like, yo, I love this. This is fun. And like, I just enjoyed it so much. I just, you know, fate happened the way that it did. I ended up being linked up with the right people and finding the right gyms. And it was just, you know, that was it.
Was that a similar story for yourself, Paige, in terms of your journey in the sport? Or
absolutely. You know, I walked into the gym just to give it a try. Kind of liked it. One thing led to another. I had an amateur fight, and then I got a call. I was young, but I was in college, and I got a call. They were like, hey, my coach, you know, I know you're only 1-0 as an amateur, but this professional fight wants you to take a fight, and I don't think you should, because once you go pro, you're pro forever. And I had just turned 18. And I was like, no, I need money. Like, and it was like I got $600 to fight and $200 to win. And I was like, oh, I can pay for a textbook to go to college.
Yep.
I ended up winning my pro fight, and I was like, no, this is what I want to do. So I turned down a college scholarship to pursue fighting.
Got to ask you both about Dana White. He's seen such a polarizing figure in the sport, and I just wanted to ask you about your experiences dealing with Dana. What's he like as somebody within the sport of UFC and MMA as well?
I love Dana. I have always had an incredible relationship with him. Even when I chose to leave the UFC as a free agent, I think he has a very good understanding of what business is, and we have to look out for ourselves as athletes, and business is business. I left the UFC, but obviously I came back for Power Slap. I had no ill will towards the UFC when I left, and he supported me my entire career. We talked about me going over to BKFC and doing bare knuckle boxing, and he's just been supporting me throughout my entire career, and I'm really happy to be under the UFC umbrella again, doing Power Slap. And for me, I think he's a true businessman, and there's a reason the UFC is as big as it is, and he's one of that big driving forces. Yeah,
it is a huge sport, Hannah, and I wanted to ask you about, in particular, there's been a lot of talk in recent weeks about the women's divisions within the UFC, and maybe they're possibly on the decline, and whether maybe there needs to be a global superstar to really take sort of the reins that we've previously seen in recent years, say Ronda Rousey, for example, really grabbing attention. Where would you stand on that point of view? Do you feel like the women's division needs that superstar to really grab the attention, or is that just nonsense from people who aren't really truly respecting the sport right now?
You know, I think like Ronda is the pioneer of the sport 1,000%, but I think that was a different time. I think now like women's MMA has evolved so much, and do I think that superstars of the sport absolutely help us and, you know, grow the brand? And yes, but I also think that like there's so many talented women in MMA now that it's hard to just spotlight one person. There's just so much talent. The sport has evolved so much, and everybody is so good, you know, especially like at an elite level. So it's like, I think, you know, share the love, share the light. Everybody should get it.
I truly believe that the women, they're there. Like, the superstars of the women division are there. There's so much talent. I mean, look at Kayla Harrison. She is incredible, and she is, of course, going to get her title soon. And they're there, and I think maybe it's just going to take more from the fans to really appreciate the skill that goes behind these professional athletes. This upcoming fight between Tatiana Suarez and the champion, I mean, go look at Tatiana's wrestling accolades. She's absolutely incredible. She's a person who beat cancer, had to, you know, was, you know, and supposed to be an Olympian, but had to go through a cancer battle. Like, the stars are there, and I think that you really are going to see them. There's just been a lot of change-ups within champions, within the divisions, and the wave of women, they're there and they're talented.
Is there a fight right now that you would love to see get made? Because constantly everyone's always wanting. Is there anything that comes to mind for both of you? Is there a fight that you want to see?
Yeah, you know, I think the rumors are there, and it's the correct fight, and I believe the next fight that will happen is Kayla Harrison and Juliana Pena. Kayla Harrison is ready for her moment, and I think she's just destined for that UFC gold, and I think it's hers for the taking.
Hannah, any that comes to mind for yourself?
I mean, I'm just really looking forward to my next fight.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm itching to get back in there, but
how long's it been then since you last fought, would you?
It'll be a year in April. I had a couple fights fall through last year, so I'm just really, really looking forward to this one.
I bet. Goodness me. Oh, one fight, obviously, being talkSPORT, British, we have a huge love for boxing, MMA as well. And a lot of people talk about Tom Aspinall within the UFC, and I just wanted to ask you about, everyone's seemingly talking about whether we're going to see that fight between him and John Jones. Do you think that will ever get made? Will we ever see that, do you think?
You know, you can take this one at first.
I mean, by the way, I love Tom, love John. John actually posted something on his social media today that he was announcing. I'm not sure what it is. I mean, I think that is definitely a fight that they want made. Whether we see it, I'm not sure. I don't know.
For me, I mean, I would love that matchup, but me being a fan, I want to see Alex Pereira and John Jones. That's like, for me, when I'm looking at like my Mount Rushmore fights to make, that's something that would blow every fight out of the water.
Is there any other on that Mount Rushmore?
Any other on the Mount Rushmore? That's one. Gosh, no,
You want
I
to see
don't know.
Austin fight?
Oh,
That's a good
my
one.
husband.
Of course.
Austin
Okay.
Vanderpoort.
Yes.
You know, anybody at this point. But yeah, he's supposed to be.
Just to get him out of the house,
He's
is that?
supposed to have big news coming up. I'm not allowed to announce it yet, but he's got big stuff on the horizon.
I have to ask you as well, just in terms of, you mentioned bare knuckle boxing. And that, goodness me, we mentioned power slap, but goodness me, the physicality of bare knuckle boxing. Somebody who's been intrigued to get involved in that, it would be Conor McGregor. There's been a lot of talk about Conor doing that. Do you see that as a potential avenue for him moving forward in his career with potentially bare knuckle?
I mean, he's an owner of BKFC, and he's obviously really, it seems passionate about BKFC as well. Competing for them, they're an incredible organization. If you've never been to a bare knuckle boxing match, they are unlike any other competition you've been to. It is violence from bell to bell. A lot of the fights end extremely early, so you have to be a fan of like the most violence, like blood. And
You're getting like
you're really
splattered.
selling it.
You'll get
You're
splattered. As a fan, obviously, I heard all the rumors that Conor fired Mike Perry. There seems to be tension. So if we're talking about one of the legends and the greatest of all time in bare knuckle boxing, you have Mike Perry. Yeah, let's throw Conor McGregor in there and let's have a match between those two.
That would be epic.
It's been fantastic speaking to you both. All the best for the GFL as well. Thank you so much for joining us on talkSPORT, and all the best going forward.
Thank you.